Back in 2013, I paid a visit to my mom's one night. My niece and nephew were in the living room watching Cartoon Network as usual. After giving her a hail, I decided to sit in the living room with those two rugrats and see what they were watching. On the TV, a boy and his friend, who was a girl, turned into a beam of light and came together to make a person who looked like a teenage girl. I was floored. I saw them go dancing and having fun amidst other hijinks. For some reason, I felt a little weird watching it, but I couldn't stop watching until the end of the episode where they separated and started dancing again and laughing, as children should laugh. It was nice. Little did I know that that cartoon would make me want to write a review on it 7 years later, a review that I believe that this show deserves. I'm Eddie, and this is my review on the entire chronology of Steven Universe. Now, before I begin this review, I want to get some things out of the way. Firstly, I'm going to be discussing the show Steven Universe, the movie, and the entire future epilogue episodes. There's going to be spoilers. This is your only warning, so if you have not seen the show or the movie or anything, now is your chance to back out. Secondly, I made this review in response to the criticisms that I've heard from other reviewers who shall remain nameless, as my intent is to give an honest review of what I think the show means to me and not smear or target anyone. Lastly, this is my review. My opinions are my own and no one else's. I hope, however, that what I say in this video about the show inspires people to think from a different perspective, if not my own. Now then, without further ado, let's do this. There are a lot of things that can affect us negatively as human beings, and there are a lot of traumas that we experience. From children to adults, we come across different things that can either bend or break us as people. In that respect, it is hard to think about or even talk to someone about some of the things we've experienced. Some of us don't even know how to go about doing it. I believe, however, that this is exactly what the show Steven Universe does. It teaches whoever watches it how to properly deal with themselves and their interpersonal relationships. Let me explain. In the first episode of Steven Universe, the viewer is introduced to the family of Steven, thrust into their home and all the silly things that Steven does. At a glance, you can be beguiled into thinking that this is just another wacky cartoon with a little action rolled in and a bumbling idiot kid as the main protagonist.
He's a frozen treat with an all-new taste, cause he came to this planet from outer space, a refugee of an interstellar war, but now he's at your local grocery store. Cookie Cat, he's a pet for your tummy. Cookie Cat, he's super duper yummy. Cookie Cat, he left his family behind. Cookie Cat! Now available at German's off Route 109.
But if you stick with it, you'll soon learn that it's a whole lot more. Especially the little things, like how in the first season, at the end credits of each episode, the ending music changes by adding and removing different instruments, changing the melody slightly, adding vocals, and coming together eventually to create one complete song. Or how the light-up bracelet that Steven uses as a ring to propose to Connie in the later future episodes appears in the freezer of episode 1 as he's getting his cookie cat. How Steven always asks for just the bits when he goes to Beach City Walk Fries. Even how he has an arrangement with his dad to always play a song whenever he's going to tell a story from the past. You'll soon find out more about Steven and his family. How his mom, Rose Quartz, gave up her life to form Steven, a half-human, half-gem. And how this act of love affected the main cast collectively and individually. To me, this is the main theme of the Steven Universe show. The subject of loss, especially the loss of a loved one. How it affects people in different ways, how they deal with it, and how they should heal from it. This is represented beautifully from the entire main cast, but my emphasis is on 3 characters, namely Steven, Pearl, and Steven's father, Greg Universe. For Steven, the weight of him having lost his mother without ever meeting her and having to hear about her from other people, on top of having to live up to what's expected of him as the leader of the crystalgems, is a lot for him to carry. However, he takes on his role without hesitation, eventually learning that he has to become his own person and that he can never be like Rose was because she was her own person. The way he goes about learning these things was done nicely, and one of the scenes, among others, that sticks out to me that showed how he understood his mother without actually knowing her was when he said this to Lars.
Now I'm never going to be friends with these guys, all because of your weird mom.
What do you know about my mom? I didn't even get to know my mom! But I do know she saw beauty in everything, even in stuff like this, and even in jerks like you!
In this scene, you begin to see the frustration he has of not knowing his mother, but he was proud enough of her to defend her. Scenes like this appear often in the series as Steven learns more and more about Rose, the good and the bad. But eventually he accepts her for what she was and learns to move on. And I love the way the show actually shows this. Amidst the trio of Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, Pearl's way of dealing with Rose's death takes a completely different direction, as it is clearly seen that she was infatuated with Rose and very possibly desired some kind of romantic relationship with her before they came to Earth and Rose met Greg. Pearl's feelings come from a few different angles. 1. Her infatuation makes her feel betrayed when she learns that there were things that Rose kept secret from her when she believed all the while that she was the sole person that Rose shared all of her secrets with.
No, Rose didn't have a lion, because if Rose had a lion, I would have known about it.
Rose kept many things secret, even from us.
But not from me. I was the one she told everything.
Yo, you're not the only one who misses her.
You can't understand how I feel. None of you had what we had.
She probably just wanted to protect you like everyone else.
What do you know? You've never even met her.
2. Her jealousy towards Greg for stealing Rose away from her makes her hate him to some degree, to the point where she blames him for her death. And 3. The way she tries to teach Steven to be a gem, as if she's trying to make him into another Rose, so as to perpetuate and nearly twist her infatuation, which stifles Steven's ability to grow in his own way. This is also seen in the episode where Pearl trains Connie to be Steven's protector. She was literally trying to turn Connie into herself so that she could be the Pearl to Steven's Rose.
If Connie is going to fight, we're going to fight together.
That's right. You shouldn't be anywhere near the fight. You're too important.
I am not.
Yes, you are.
No!
Why won't you just let me do this for you, Rose?
Watching Pearl gradually learn to get over each of these feelings, especially in the episode Mr. Greg, where Pearl once and for all confronts these feelings with Greg and finally talks to him, made for excellent character development, and I love how it all came together.
I know you both needed someone.
Greg Universe, in my opinion, is the only one out of the three who has done the best job so far in moving on from Rose Quartz. I would even go so far as to say that he's the most mature in terms of how his character had developed to when you first meet him in episode 2. You find this out in later episodes that show how he had to mature enough to get a job at the car wash even before he and Rose had Steven. He was always available to his son whenever he wanted to talk about his mother, or anything for that matter. Always had an answer for any question that Steven asked, and if he didn't have one, he would say so, but offer some advice nonetheless. Greg's Hoboken lifestyle belies the type of person he truly is, even to the point where becoming an instant millionaire doesn't make him change most of his ways. He continues to live in his van and even continues running the car wash. Greg is a rock for Steven, someone who can help lift him up whenever he's feeling down or lost, and I love that about him. That is not to say that he's not without his flaws. When you first meet him, you see that he's resilient to helping Steven and the gems with their magic stuff, which he puts to the side on occasion for the safety of his son.
Oh, Dad. We did it.
Some would also say that he's a little bit of a simpleton. I feel this is only because of Steven and the gems situations, as I said prior. I will say, however, that his longing for the simple life has made him a little too relaxed, which can be argued that it would be something that stems from him losing Rose, which is why I can understand in the last episode of Steven Universe Future, Steven gives his dad his room so as to give him a place where he can rest his head and call a home.
It's all yours.
I want you to move in.
Huh? Don't you think it's a little ritzy for me?
Try the bed, Dad.
Whoa. Steven, I don't think I can get up.
I knew you'd like it.
I love the overall theme of this series and how the show does an excellent job of teaching people how to deal with moving on from losing someone, among other topics, making them easier for kids and teenagers to understand. Almost every episode of Steven Universe teaches something. It's almost as if each episode is its own fable with a lesson to be learned at the end of it. Examples include, but are not limited to, Coach Steven that teaches what happens when you lose self-control via the whole incident with Sugarlight, and also that you don't need physical strength all the time to overcome obstacles. We Need to Talk teaches the importance of people who love each other being able to communicate their feelings to one another and clear up any confusions that you may have so as to move forward. In the episode Kiki's Pizza Delivery Service, I've picked up on two things. Firstly, the main lesson is that it's okay to say no to someone you care about so that you set boundaries to have your time respected. Secondly, I love how Steven uses his me time to treat himself special, which is a great way to teach people not to forget to love themselves. Rocknaldo has a lesson about how to accept and respect another person's differences, be that by race, religion, or anything of the sort. And finally, A Single Pale Rose shows the inner workings of people who compartmentalize mentally, as it shows the different feelings that Pearl has locked away as Steven is trying to find her phone. These are just a few examples of things from episodes that you can learn just by watching and looking at them a little deeper. And I feel that rebeccasugar and her team did a fantastic job of showing this. Sure, there are things that you can learn from a myriad of cartoons and anime, but the way it's presented here is relatable to how we are as human beings. That being said, I feel it's presented in a way so that it leaves these topics open for conversation between young kids and adults. I would go further to say that even adults can learn from it, so as to not follow the whole cartoons are for kids stereotype. It's good to see an animated piece of art that has a lot of positive themes that people can learn from.
Time to cut the cheese. Shing!
Here we are in the future.
The main theme of the Steven Universe movie was the beginning of moving on, as there was nothing left to fight, seeing that the peace had come to the planet Earth and the home world of the gems. Until the arrival of Spinel and after the battle with her, the worlds were simply ready to move forward, and with them, Steven and the crystal gems. I loved the story of the movie. There was no way you couldn't feel sorry for what Pink Diamond did to Spinel, and the way Steven handles hearing the news that it was his mother who abandoned her shows the viewer that he is well over having to deal with the messes she left behind, because he has long since accepted his mother for who she was. You see a sense of maturity in him now, and not just because he's older. However, he treats this as just another thing that needs to fix so that he can get back to his happily ever after. Where you see the maturity is where he realizes his mistake in wanting to just fix it and instead approaches the problem head on from a different angle, which is a good way to approach any situation.
We are in the future.
Steven Universe Future is a 20-episode epilogue series to bring the chronology to a close. I have to take a moment here to say that I almost didn't watch this series, as because of habit, I like to watch review videos before I watch anything. All the reviews I watched said that the episodes were terrible, and I listened to them. However, just as my friends got me to watch the initial series after I saw that episode with my niece and nephew 7 years ago, they did the same for me here by challenging me to watch it and draw my own conclusions from it. I am glad they did. Rebecca's story to close out the lives of Steven and the crystal gems is very nicely done, doing well to answer some questions the previous series left behind. My favorite thing that I love about these episodes, however, is that how they gave Steven a flaw that kept him human so as to relate to the viewers watching. You see, the overall theme of the future episodes is dealing with the pain of letting go and moving on. While watching, you can clearly see the way that everything leading up to this point has affected Steven mentally, since all that's happened in the previous episodes and how he has to deal with it. Seeing the gradual mental overload that Steven deals with per episode, which leads to his eventual breakdown on the second to last episode, was an emotional train ride which gets you in the feels in more ways than one. I can honestly say, as someone who also does therapy, that I've never felt more connected to a character than I did with Steven Universe during this entire epilogue series. These episodes make him feel the most human because of what he goes through. Learning how to accept that his friends are moving on with their lives in the little graduation episode, accepting that he has a piece of him missing from his life and desire to find something to make him whole, and also figuring out that he has a problem with moving on because of the traumatic experiences in his childhood. With the help and support of his friends, he realizes that it's okay to need and ask for help, because that's how a support system works. From episodes 1 to 20, you witnessed the culmination of a perfect ending to an unforgettable series. I must thank my friends for changing my mind about watching them, as it was the best thing for me to see. The Steven Universe chronology is not without its sense of symbolism if watched to understand the deeper meaning behind it. As I've stated earlier, the show deals with some painful situations that most kids, adolescents, and even adults find difficult to express at times. In my opinion, the show is like a guide on how to go about dealing with the struggles of things that hold you back from having proper relationships with people. As simple as the book Steven had with the 2-step rule of how to talk to people, with the steps being, think of what you want to say and say it. As simple as this may sound, it is actually sound advice even when not broken down into subsets. But having already covered how positive the show is in this regard, I feel that there are things to consider when looking at the series through a different lens. On the subject of loss and having to deal with it, one can see the representation of the 5 stages of grief throughout the series, as each of the characters either displays one or some of each stage, although not in the order that Kubler-Ross presents. Denial is shown in White Diamond when you first meet her and up to when she removes the gem from Steven. She dismisses that he is the son of Pink Diamond and continues to call him Pink as if she was still alive. I would even go so far as to say Jasper gives off vibes of denial as well. Anger is represented in numerous examples. Pearl's outbursts and Yellow Diamond's attitude towards everything. But the character that plays this part to the nth degree is Bismuth, during both episodes of her being unbubbled. Her anger leads her to even disbelieve that Steven is not rose quartz when they fight in the forge. Bargaining is shown in the episode 3 Gems and a Baby, where the crystal gems kidnap Steven because they feel as if he is just Rose shapeshifted into a baby boy. They try everything in an effort to get him to change back into Rose, ultimately conceding and realizing that he is just a human baby. Depression is rampant in the entire chronology, but the best character who expresses this emotion to the letter is none other than Blue Diamond. It's so heavy because of the loss of Pink that she has made it become her power for others to feel the same things that she feels, which can also be a metaphor for how a person who is depressed can sometimes invoke these feelings on others. Finally, acceptance is represented with Steven ultimately accepting his mother for the person she was, thus allowing him to become his own person so as to no longer be under the shadow of Rose Quartz. There are more examples of symbolism throughout the series, but my personal favorite interpretation is that of White Diamond. On the homeworld planet of the gems, it can clearly be shown that the act of fusion with different gems is forbidden. This is made clear when we see Garnet fuse the first time in the story she is telling Steven in the episode The Answer. Here, I have to take a pause and make something perfectly clear before I continue. I have seen in other reviews where people have said that the act of fusion in Steven Universe is an allegory of sex. And with the representation of the LGBTQ+ community in the show, it tends to shed a negative light on the series with the idea that sex between same-sex individuals is in a cartoon meant for kids. I do not believe that at all. I am in no way, shape, or form a person who has the right to defend people who are LGBTQ+, as I have no idea what it means to be that way. but I do know for a fact that the way fusion is misread as sex in this series is misconceived, and by proxy, using this as an attack on the LGBTQ plus community is just plain wrong. Fusion is not sex, as after doing research, you come to find out that the gems are sexless beings who reproduce asexually. There's a video from Toon Ruins that further explains this that I will link in the description below because I don't want to get off track with this review. Moving on. With the act of fusion between different gems being forbidden, it can be symbolized as an act of love, as Garnet explains in Keeping It Together that she embodies the love of Ruby and Sapphire, and the strength of that love keeps her together. So the act of love itself is taboo and frowned upon in the Gemworld planet. With this information and how the characters are presented, when it came to the point when I saw White Diamond, I couldn't help but think that she was symbolic of God. I know. Crazy, right? Let me elaborate. When you first see White Diamond, she has this presence of supremacy, as she is the most powerful of all the gems and the other diamonds. She is omnipotent because of her power to make any gem conform to her will. She is omniscient as her power makes her able to see all through the eyes of those she has taken control of, and her presence and attitude just gives off that vibe. Because of this, I think this part of the story deals with the concept of free will and the allowance of love, the type of love that White Diamond doesn't understand, which can also be attributed to us as humans not understanding the love that people in the LGBTQ plus community has, and people using religion to try to get them to change and be perfect, just as White Diamond did to the other crystal gems and the other two diamonds. What can be learned from this is that in order for free will to exist, there must first be love. And as Steven's gem returns to him, White Diamond sees this and finally has an understanding of what that means. Pink Diamond was gone, but her love helped to create Steven. So essentially, the metaphorical interpretation of the hug between Steven and the gem is just as Garnet had said. Rose's love and the love and acceptance that Steven has for her keeps him together. So essentially, Steven is kind of like his own fusion. You can ponder on that for a while. Amidst other cartoons and anime that can have some negative themes, I feel as if this series approaches things differently so as to teach and entertain. But I had to find out for myself what it meant to the audience it was meant for. Children. I asked my niece, now age 17, and my nephew, now age 10, about what they thought of the show when they were watching it. My nephew said that he liked the series, and even though he had some characters he didn't like, he really enjoyed it. My niece blew me away when she said to me that what she loved about the show was the fact that there were girl characters in it, and it made her feel inspired to be able to do anything. I had never gotten the whole girl power vibe from it, but then again, I'm not a girl. I asked more of my friends' kids who watched it what they thought of it, and got a myriad of replies. A boy said that he liked the development of Steven throughout the series and learned how to be yourself through acceptance of yourself, the way Garnet did when she was first fused. Another girl told me that she saw Amethyst as an older sister and loved the character development of Peridot. She also loved some of the songs that were in the episodes, such as That Distant Shore. She learned that everyone has their perspective on things, and that even though some people have been through a lot of things, taking the time to be a friend to that person and supporting them is good. Finally, one last boy said that he liked the show a lot, and what he said that he learned from it was to follow your dreams, be confident in what you say, take initiative, and do something nice for each other. I hope that somewhere in the ether, rebeccasugar would hear this honest review of what I and other kids have thought of the chronology of Steven Universe. She and her team did an amazing job bringing these characters to us, giving them life through animation and voice acting, and having them teach us things that make us feel inspired. What I feel about the show in a nutshell is this. Steven Universe teaches us, as the ending song from the first season states, how to love. It shows us how to love our friends and family through the relationships with Steven, his father, and the crystal gems. It shows us acceptance, which is a part of love. through the way Steven accepts his mother and his friends, and most importantly, it shows us how to love ourselves in all the ways Steven does and the things that he has to go through mentally. Watching this was a joy, and my only regret is that I didn't take the time to watch this series with my niece and nephew those 7 years ago. But for what it's worth, I'd like to send a big thank you to Rebecca and her team for this story, which I believe is one of the best gifts the world has ever received. Also, and most importantly, I cannot stress this enough, Onion is my dude. This is Eddie, signing out. In the meantime, DJ, take us out.
If I could begin to be half of what you think of me, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when I